All right. First item on today's agenda is a summary of the coalition top-up that was discussed this past week. Would anybody like to give a brief summary on what was discussed Monday? Perhaps Douglas, you'd like to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks. We started out having what seemed like it might be a simple conversation about how to divide the cost sharing in the future. The problem being that we're sharing unevenly in the costs, and there are good reasons for that, but that may not be a long-term solution for the health of the organization. So we started talking about ways that we could keep this group accessible to everyone. Hopefully, allow new groups to come in time. But also make sure that all our constituents are feel it's right to be engaged, right? So that the smaller chains don't get priced out of the coalition, so that they then decide to that they need to leave, and so that the larger valuation chains, which currently just means EOS, which is paying for a vast majority of what we're doing. So it also feels like it's getting enough from the other partners in terms of pay and other contributions for it to be worthwhile for them to, keep putting us in a position of decision making with them, even though they're paying so much. So it seems like a simple thing, but I think going forward, my concern is that that inequities or perceived inequities, either by us or by our constituents who ultimately drive our decisions, will grow, and I want to head that off. So we talked about some things. It turned out that it is actually a very complex topic, and we're going to be there's no way to reach a decision because in such a short amount of time, and we're going to be going into ongoing meetings about it. The good news is there's no need to immediately come up with any answer because we're trying to head off problems in the future. But I think there's a general recognition that every side has concerns and points at which it won't pencil out for them to be part of the coalition, and we want to avoid those long in advance. So the initial treatments, the things that we just discussed, were either doing what we're doing now, which is sharing based on an economic valuation model with a minimum that rises. It was 3% last year, it's 5% this year. The other approach is a fixed percentage method where we would say, okay, here's the part of it we're sharing economically, and part of it we're just sharing, splitting down the middle 4 ways or however many ways. And in the beginning, that part that's fixed stays small, but it grows over time to potentially being, half or all of the contribution. And there's lots of thoughts on every side. So this is going to be a longer conversation for us. I don't think there's anything really to discuss here, but I'm here for questions if anybody has any.
I think my main question is, what are we deciding as the next steps? Because this doesn't seem like a weekly agenda item anymore. It seems like there might be a working group coming down the pipe, but I don't know that that's a top of priority at this point. Do we just put this in the backlog and maybe in a couple months we go down the backlog, find it? How do we move forward?
So what I believe we all discussed and agreed to was, I think we all recognize that this is a real issue that we will have to find a solution for, and the sooner the better. However, it's not critical, but it, in its timing, we could put it off for as long as we wanted to until it reared its head as a problem. What we're trying to do is stay ahead of it because, in a way, it could potentially be an existential issue for the longevity of the coalition, and so we want to work on it on a regular basis. I don't know if that's weekly. I think that's maybe monthly talks. Eve or Lucas, somebody can or somebody can help me remember exactly what we decided there. But it's regular, ongoing discussions. Not anticipating we probably won't have a proposed solution right away, and we may have to bring in community feedback and things like that for this. But we are not going to backlog it and then just do nothing and come to it later and say, hey, this is time. We need to make ongoing efforts towards this. Is that
we discussed having a monthly retrospective between the coalition members to have a discussion about are we doing enough? Are there expectations that are not being met? So that from WAC's perspective, I would like to know, are we contributing enough? Are there areas where we need to shore up? Do we need to staff more, members on our side to contribute here? And then having that monthly feedback would be very, very good for us, because we definitely don't want to get into a place where, there are resentments that are not vocalized. So having a monthly retrospective would be very helpful, at least for me, for sure. And I'm sure other chains would benefit from that process.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. It was monthly, and in addition to ongoing talks about how to make these, and that'll be ongoing, right? Even once we solve this problem. So part of the time will be used to address this problem until we find a solution. But on an ongoing basis, we just want to have a way, like Lucas says, to make sure that things don't go unvoiced. For example, the positive or the better, or the negative. So, for example, WACS recently put a lot of time and effort into generating a Messari account, and they clearly, credited the coalition, and we all saw that was great, and that's the kind of thing we would like to point to and say, hey, good job. TELOS recently completely accidentally, because we were bringing in new people and they didn't understand what in our marketing department, sort of misrepresented in one thing, which we quickly corrected, how IBC, IBC is a TELOS thing as opposed to an Antelope thing, and that came back to us pretty quickly through the other channels, but that's an example of something that if it kept going without feedback would be it would build bad feelings. So that is going to be an ongoing thing on a monthly basis. I think this is really healthy.
Okay, so who is going to own this? Like, it's one thing to say, hey, we want to meet periodically, but somebody needs to drive it. Somebody needs to put an agenda behind it.
I can run these monthly retrospectives. That's not a problem. I can schedule it out. It's just or maybe you guys can own the actual meeting, but I can actually run the retrospective process, and then put together a summary and then send it out to everyone in the Telegram channel.
That would be great. I'll help also as something between a chain representative and a individual participant. I'll be happy to assist you in that, Lucas.
Hey. Perfect. Any final thoughts on this?
Let's attention. I mean, let's figure out when we're gonna do it. So it's beginning of March. So this is a good time to actually maybe we could use either our Monday call to do a 15-minute retrospective at the very beginning, or towards the end of that call. I'm not sure how packed the agenda is. I don't know if we need yet another meeting to do this.
At this point, it's a wide open agenda.
Fantastic. So why don't we plan to do it on the 6th of March, and then we'll try to do it like the first week of every month.
Sounds great. If we have anything pressing, we can punt it a week, or if it's really pressing, we can add an additional meeting. But I have a feeling that we've gotten through that, a lot of that time where everything is go, and it may be a little bit less of a weekly list on discussing proposals and things for a while. So it seems like we can spare 1 week a month.
Excellent. All right. The next two items, just worth mentioning, the progress for the requirements has not moved forward as previously explained. We have our upcoming release. It will likely be another week or so before that unwinds and we can jump more into those items. All right, the remainder items are all status updates. I figured this would probably be an easier way of doing that than just staring at the Kanban board. So we'll start with peer-to-peer discovery. The project has been kicked off. This is a tentative timeline. You can see some of the milestone dates. The first one with the design phase being done on March 27th. I do know that the project manager is pushing into the team as they're kind of doing initial design to get better milestone deliverables. But, we don't just want to say, hey, development's done. We want specific workable software at different phases, or at the end of the design, like what specific architectural components are designed. There needs to be a review of that, and talked before. So this is a tentative schedule, but we are tracking on a weekly basis. I'll pause. Any questions that you guys would like me to escalate back to the team, or are we good? All right. Next one, IBC. Again, in terms of the original plan, we're kind of in this hiatus where a lot for the plan, because a lot of the work's being done on instant finality. However, there is still movement going on in the IBC. You can see a lot of the later items that were scheduled towards the end of the year for completion. Down here in the timeline, you can see they're well underway. And as Guillaume has mentioned in previous weeks, that some of them are probably going to drop much, much sooner, and we talked about, nobody cares if deliverables come early. We only want to know if they're late. Guillaume, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, there's two milestones that I'd like to, there's two milestones that I'd like to have a little bit more clarity from the coalition heads, just to make sure that we're on the same page. I don't know if we should have this discussion now or if we should have that on the Monday call. I don't mind either way. It's just maybe now is good, since we seem to be making good time. If we have a little 5 minutes to discuss these points, probably would be a good time now. I guess nobody objects.
Yeah, I mean, we have the time now.
All right.
I believe they're pretty quick items.
Yeah, they're going to be very quick. So there's the first one. We have milestone number 5, monitoring and analysis tools, which we were, that was scheduled for the summer, but we're more or less ready at this point. Essentially what we did is we created an API that keeps track of all of the states of the contracts, of the wrap lock and wrap token contracts on each of the coalition chains. So essentially you can look at the glance, see how much funds are locked on either on each chain, and how much tokens have been like wrap token have been created on the other chains. So that kind of takes care of all the monitoring questions that we might have. I think I shared that link with the group, the ENF Markham group, but I'm happy to send anyone who asks a link for the preview. We're going to be deploying these to I guess like subdomains on uxnetwork.io. If we wanted to use the Antelope IBC domain, Antelope IBC domain, AntelopeIBC.com, I think, domain for that, we can definitely do that as well.
And my question here is, as part of that milestone, we also discussed having an alert mechanism if there is any discrepancy between, say, the amount of tokens that have been locked on a given chain versus the amount of tokens that have been minted on the corresponding chain. So that is essentially what I'd like to verify with all of you. See what would be an appropriate channel to issue such an alert if there was a problem. And these would be like major problems that would only occur if there was probably like a hack, or if there was like a governance failure, as we've discussed, like on any of the chains, like BPs essentially like hijacking the contract and doing something they're not supposed to. So yeah, I mean, what would be like a proper channel to essentially like communicate that problem, to raise the alarm? Would you guys be okay with the Telegram bot, or would you prefer, I don't know, like an email list, or just figured I'd ask what people would feel comfortable with?
I have no preference.
I would probably suggest a Telegram bot. Like that would probably be the most, I guess, like the better way to reach the people. Because essentially what happens if there's a hack like this, we would need to reach BPs on the chains that have been affected, and probably like having a Telegram bot in a channel where there's enough people that can relay the message to BPs would be appropriate. So that this is what I would suggest, unless anyone has a better idea.
I guess to give an idea of, to give an idea of how it works on EOS, because we've had incidents in the past and incident response. The BPs all had kind of like a buddy system with the actual phone numbers. So not only do we do the in-channel type of thing, but I would also be comfortable with, I guess in this case, you're saying that you would likely be apprised first, for you to have my phone number and, of course, a Telegram bot and everything else, but also then being able to reach out. What we had done in the past is most people obviously put their phones on and, nighttime mode or whatever, do not disturb. It automatically switches after time. But if you call twice in a row, it oversees that, especially if you have a contact that's designated as emergency. So every BP had 2 or 3 BPs that they had the personal numbers of, so that it would ignite a chain of events whereby everybody was being alerted as quickly as possible. And
Happened to me. I wasn't that group somewhere.
Yeah, we were on a few occasions able to actually prevent things from happening while they were happening, because that method, as much as it's brute force and kind of old school, does work out. Because realistically, this happens at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., wherever you are. Like you can't plan this, right?
So I guess like here essentially what I would suggest is that we use a Telegram bot to kind of reach, I guess like a few quote seeds that in that process, all that would essentially be able to escalate that and to kind of start.
Those seeds should have a process internal too.
Right.
Which you would not be, I guess, responsible for. That would be each chain to figure out how they do that.
Right. Yeah.
I guess
basically the initial
put
alert
me and a contact and maybe Zach as the other contact or something like that.
Well, I mean, what I would suggest is maybe we create a yet another Telegram group or channel, in this case, probably, that would have the bot, and the bot would essentially only alert if there's an issue, and then every chain can basically add people as required to be to have that channel monitored, and then like they would leave it with notifications on. Anyway, it should only trigger if there's a real emergency. So and then whichever process the chains have to reach their BPs would essentially stream from that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. So if nobody else if nobody objects, then we'll do that.
So that's for I guess our milestone number 5, monitoring and analysis tools, and then we will also deploy it, like I said, to a subdomain on uxnetwork.io. If you guys want, we can also discuss having the Antelope IBC domain, having hosting there, and basically deploying some of these things there. I mean, for time being, we're very happy to keep that under the UX Network IO domain. But at some point, if the coalition wants to pay for hosting and have it essentially deploy there, or whatever, we can do that as well. So for now, like I said, no.
I suggest we should all run this API. So each chain that is actually participating in IBC, there should be this endpoint under. So for us, we would expose it under, something like ibc.wax. Or ibc
Right.
analytics.wax.io. Would be good to standardize, maybe even on like the subdomain that this would be exposed, and then we could all run.
Yeah, perfect. So anyway, I'll make sure, like I think we've already open sourced it, but I'll double check, and I'll ping the group in the Telegram group with the GitHub repo for these tools, so anyone can essentially like deploy it and host it and make it available under their domain. Cool. And then the other one was our milestone number 8, where we need to essentially support and consult with history solution providers to improve APIs. So essentially, my bad, when I wrote that milestone, I should have been a bit more explicit. It's a bit vague, as you can imagine. So I was wondering how, I mean, if you could kind of give it some sort of I guess like a more precise definition. At this point, we support Firehose and we support State History plugin. There's, I believe, Hyperion Chronicles are also essentially like build with support. I mean, essentially based on State History plugin. And I think the only other history solution I'm aware of that is widely used is Robo, like from Greymass. I think, Aaron, at any point, basically, we can have that discussion. If you need anything from our end, we're happy to help. I think you mentioned you use Trace API, so we can look at having a Trace API ingester for the data there. And then, but yeah, essentially, like I'd like to figure out like how would we consider that milestone complete, and like who would be reviewing that. It's a bit vague. So I'm not necessarily asking today for a for closure on that one, but yeah, it's just something that I'd like to make sure that we we define a bit more, so that we can know basically what's expected of us to complete that milestone. I don't know if anyone had any comments or any suggestions there. Does it look like it? So I guess yeah. I mean, maybe then we would just consider like Firehose and State History plugin plus Trace API would be basically sufficient to consider that milestone completed, unless anyone objects.
No objection here.
Would you mind, Guillaume, working with Adam and get him to write that down?
Yep.
So I mean, I know we have this recording, but it's always good to write these things down and keep it with the project information.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Okay, so in that case, that's it for me.
Until we start talking about instant finality.
That's right. Yep. So for instant finality, we've got we essentially have the aggregate signatures that's pretty much ready for review. I think we haven't submitted it yet for review because it was not ready for Tuesday call, but I believe it is now, or it will be momentarily. So that's essentially now
ready for the ENF engineers to look into. For the core instead finality features, also the 31st March is still the date we have. We're aiming for the delivery, and then the rest is also pretty much on target. As a kind of anecdote, I've got it running now for about like 48 hours on my own private testnet without any issues so far. So that's a good sign. Keeping my finger crossed, but like the prototype.
It's a start, anyways.
It's a start anyway. Yeah, exactly. So there's still a lot more to do, of course, like in terms of bundling the feature into the whole like Leap plumbing with everything, and like protocol feature activation, testing like upon new chain launch, testing, activating the feature, and all of these things. Like this is only the core functionality, but it's there. So like that's working. The hot stuff algorithm has been implemented, and we've had like several discussion with the ENF engineers as well. So like we've refined that algorithm quite extensively already, and it's actually very, very cool. I think I'm very happy with the way that things are moving. So so yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Okay, so as an aside on that, I would imagine that the person you've been, most likely the point person you've been speaking to is ARG. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
It is. So we do have a new, I guess, recent employee that has a PhD in cryptography. But what I didn't know was that he actually worked on the hot stuff algorithm back in 2018.
No way.
He is quite knowledgeable about.
No way. Oh my.
And so that was news to me. I did not know this. So I don't know if either the Bart or I don't know, Jeff or Ted that would somehow loop Doctor Who in this if needed, but I would imagine that over time,
oh my God,
we want to leverage that particular person.
That is amazing. I did not know that, but that's fantastic news.
That's pretty impressive. His name is Doctor Who. Is he also?
Yeah, so his name is Darkin Who, but his family name is Who, and because he's got a PhD, then the nickname has stuck now we've been working with him for about a year. His nickname is now Doctor Who, but spelled differently.
Nickname.
That's kind of the funny part. Yes, exactly. So yes, Doctor Who has a PhD in cryptography that he obtained in the United States. He is one of our employees that is located in China. But yes, he has been in the blockchain space now for, I guess, 5 years or so. And as it turns out, he's also somewhat of an, I don't know if expert's the right thing, but definitely has experience in hot stuff, as that was the first project that he tried to work with / implement / yeah. So anyways,
well,
I mean, that connection.
Congratulations on that hire. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so for sure, 100%. If you, like, I don't know, Bart or anyone else, if you want to put me in touch, I'd be happy to kind of just give him a few pointers where we're at, and share the GitHub repos, and invite on the Tuesday calls and all of that. I don't want to also like step on anyone's toes. I'm assuming you've hired him for also other things.
He's been developing our EVM for a year, so yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's in that side of the business.
All right, but anyway, please let me know if there's any availability for him to take a peek at what we've been doing. I'd love to get his eyes on what we're doing.
I think Jeff and I want to defer to Bart on that. He does report into Bart. I think he reports actually to AREG.
Yes.
And obviously he is allocated onto a project, but he's not Jeff or mine to share. He's Bart's.
Okay.
Yeah, he's currently working under AREG. I'm sure that they've talked about this already, since AREG and he talk a lot about cryptography. So I will see if there is any need at this point for like a closer introduction.
Sounds good. Sounds great. So that's pretty much the update on my side. Unless there's any question, we'll move on to next.
All right.
Aaron, you're up for SDK.
Awesome. We are probably going to have a 0.3 release tomorrow, which features the first implementation of the UAL replacement, essentially. It's the user interface that web apps will be able to start implementing. It is not going to be the final design, nor is it going to be incredibly optimized, but this will be the first opportunity that other applications will be able to really implement and try this out. We're hoping to get a blog post out shortly thereafter. That's my attention's gone to now writing this, and we'll be hopefully publishing it within a week or two. Hopefully not that long, but starting to collect feedback and iterating on that. Excited to see how this works out for people, as you know, this is kind of the bread and butter of the project. Localization came in the last week. Localization in terms of the actual user interface. So now the thing that pops up in your web browser that you use to log in or sign transactions will be localized to 3 set languages to begin with, and then with the possibility of expanding that to whatever the user interface wants to offer for that. We have a document that we need to complete for the user interface specification, and other than that, that will bring milestone 4 over there in the sidebar to a good review point. As with everything else we're doing, we don't want to say everything's done, because we do really want feedback from application developers on how to improve this. But in terms of how the milestone is represented, that one will be probably submitted to review in the not too distant future. So then we'll be moving on to the next milestones and keep chugging along on the project. So it's really coming together. We think this will have some pretty substantial impact positively towards developers that want to build apps on these chains. And we'll continue working with them to make sure it's what these developers need.
All right, questions for the group, from the group. Okay.
I just want to add that this is one of the most exciting things as well, because in terms of usability, or I guess front-facing user experience, this component is quite massive, long awaited for, and I just can't wait to see, as this progresses along, because this is going to change the experience for a lot of people, whether they be developers, end users, whatever it may be. This is a huge win for the coalition. So just kudos to Greymouse, Aaron, the rest of the team.
Really, you. I mean, you started this effort to get us all together, and I think these types of things are the really strong culmination of showing the value of that. So thank you. And I think there's a lot, I think, and Aaron and your team, and I think there's a lot of really exciting things that are happening right now because of this coalition. That's why I want to make sure that it, long endures. But yeah, thanks for your leadership on this too, Gabe.
All right, next project, CDT. So the quick update, the code is, the second PR on this is under review, going through yet another feedback round. While the schedule is slightly behind, again, this is not at this point a real concern for us missing our March release. And so, once the code review, peer review comes back, if there's more feedback, you guys know how that goes. If not, then this will be pretty close to being wrapped up and ready to integrate with the larger release software. Bart, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Nope. Only that I can't find my mute button.
Nice. All right. The last status review was a coalition ledger app. So this is a schedule that Adam has put together. It's a tentative schedule. I'm going to emphasize that. We do want to send this out to the coalition and have each of you essentially accept the dates, or if not, suggest new ones. And the main reason is because there's a lot of components in this that we're going to ask for some back and forth. And so to make sure the project moves along, let's have the agreed timeline ahead of schedule, and then Adam will know what to manage against.
So, Jeff, before we jump into that, has Adam been working with Eric Passmore at all? Have we had any discussions at that level, or is this mostly just collecting the information we need, which is one phase of this project?
Yeah, he's been in communication with Eric as well.
Okay, because there's one thing maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you guys have made a ton of progress here. Did we get past the point of it having a core app and then the 5 thin head apps? Has Eric gotten that far in research or discussion or conversations with Thomas Julian, or is that not part of this? This is assuming that they're all just big fat apps. And to Aaron's point, you maybe can get 2 onto a ledger, even though they'd all work. And I know I still have an outstanding question. I was just noticed I pinged Thomas again on the Antelope app, which again, I have some search questions that he missed for, how we can't put all 4 symbols after Antelope, and how does search work when it comes up in the marketplace catalog, or the app catalog, whatever they call it. So I'm just wondering, I think we still have some open items there. And do you know if those were resolved?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that it was discussed, but I don't know where the resolution is on that. I will make sure that that's buttoned up, and we also include that correctly on the status slide as well, because that is the major. No, absolutely. And honestly, it's why I want to present these, because if we're missing something, or if I'm missing something, this helps me, go back, track it down, make sure that we've closed any open holes. So I was going to add to that. Do you want to add anything? But I guess you just did.
Sorry. Thank you.
No, that's great. All right. So that's it for today's items. Anybody else have anything you want to add? Okay. So we'll call this meeting's time of death at 2:43 Eastern time. Yes,
Jeff, I'm sorry. I had to find my mute button. He wrapped it up so quickly. I was just curious of an update. Eve, I believe you were going to check with the BPs about their comfort level with adding Heather as the USDT as a first class IBC token. I was just wondering if you had any update.
I have spoken to a few of them, but not all of them. It is on the agenda. Zach's not here. I believe it is March 9th. We're having our next March 9th or 8th. We're having our next BP call. We host a monthly BP call with top 30 BPs, and that is on the agenda. So I'll be able to get back to you with maybe more precise feedback after that date. So I believe this is next Wednesday night.
Okay, I was going to say, it seems like that'll be a week from yesterday, so a week from today.
A week from today, correct. I guess, but March 9th, I think in China, so March 8th at night for us. Guillaume, do you know? Because you're attending that call. Or you've got an invite to that call. Yes, March 8th evening.
Okay, so next Thursday, we could have the update on the agenda.
I haven't got the official invite yet.
Okay, I'll make sure you get your invite.
Thank you.
EOS Titan broke the top 30.
That's right.
That's right. Not too long ago.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll talk to some of you on Monday.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye.